Is it power, or is it just like his other way of fucking with you?
It's what's he going to do?
And then we have instant F-bomb at the start of the streams. Cheers, Bear. Good man.
Fuck your fucking monetization, you fucker.
I don't monetize these.
Neither do I.
No, because of stupid things. Right. Welcome. It is time for some midweek geek, and these are familiar faces that you will see here. Familiar names, familiar faces. We are joined tonight by Bear. Hello. Saxius in his guise as the accounting dear, and Iman in his guise as intellectual quandary. Hello. And there's Chat Grim Squirrel, and we've got Halakar and Daniel and Straw Piglet, and anybody else who's watching. It looks like we've got 8 people watching. And some
roll for sanity, Grim. Yep, I shaved my beard.
Yes. So, how are you all? Have you had a good week?
Yes,
Doing pretty good, thanks.
Yes. Bear
Ramadan started, but
Bear doesn't do mundane questions.
Ramadan started? Great. I look forward to when it's over. So all my Muslim friends can be rational human beings again and not be fucking
Me too.
having low blood sugar counts and like, you know.
Yes. My boss being one. Yeah. He's very quiet at the moment.
Yeah. No, I'm on vacation. Today's my first day of vacation. I was actually supposed to be on vacation all week, but I had to go do a meeting on Tuesday, which sucked. So now I'm on vacation, and I got exactly 0 done today. I'm bored.
That's not like you, is it?
No, it's not. I'm bored. So this better be interesting, motherfuckers.
Okay.
How long you off? How long you on vacation?
Just till next week. Just till next Tuesday.
Fluxus, my Southern Comfort has taken a long time to get down that far. I'm a bit of a slow drinker at the moment because of certain belly things. So I limit myself. Only have the odd nip every now and again. Little tipple occasionally. But yeah, we are planning a drinking quest stream as soon as Mage is free.
He's never free.
Not at the moment, is he? He's always busy. He's always doing things. But we're supposed to be having a drinking quest stream. That'll be done on a Friday. Saxius, would you be up for that?
Sure.
Oh no, it's Friday nights, isn't it? It's Friday nights is your heroic night.
Well, which Friday? Because if I have enough notice, if I have enough notice, I can arrange around that. But if you leave it till the week of where I have my games, then no.
I don't know at the moment. We haven't come up with a date yet. So
okay.
Forewarned is forearmed. Hello, you're wrong. Hello, Mr. Baker. And we have a lurker.
Okay, make our heads bigger, please, so we can see each other.
Square right. There we go.
My head. Look, I have to sit back so my head is a bearable size. If I sit close to my camera, my head is extremely fat. Look at that.
Whatever you say there.
That.
Yeah.
You've seen it.
You've seen this up close. You know how big this is.
Yes, yeah, you've seen mine up close. How out of proportion.
Yours is like a bobblehead. Like little body, big head. It's quite entertaining.
Like the bobblehead from Fallout, but without
it's a bobblehead from The Hobbit. It's a limited edition Hobbit and bobblehead. Saxus is about to blow a gasket. We'll shut the fuck up and let it.
If you get it out of the system now, we'll get on with it.
Damn it, Daniel.
Figured it was nap time, so I'd, join for a little bit.
We put you to sleep, are we? I'm going to put you to sleep.
So rude.
Games this week, chaps. Games this week. Bear, you played anything?
No, but I have my OSC game tonight.
And we have something this Saturday, don't we?
Oh, Saturday we have something.
Oh yeah, what's that thing called? That thing that we
I
do
have
every now and
no
then.
idea what we're doing on Saturday, but I'm sure it'll be regretful for me. You're also fucked. You have no idea how fucked you are. I can't wait for this session. I'm gonna fuck. You're just gonna be like, ow, 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 ow. What? Fuck, dude, lube. Like, that's how the session's gonna go. Just so we're clear.
Can we at least have a little bit of spit?
No,
Lube.
no.
I could say something very vulgar, but I won't. I'll just say within a few moments, your own will be providing the lube.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Your own sang, as the French say.
Saxius, then. I know you've been playing games.
Yes. My sci-fi game, making progress. Heroic, decent game, roleplay heavy. The Witcher, we really got to test out or stress test the interlock game with for the Witcher game. Was great watching as two witches were just mowing their way through monsters, and I got to pick the pockets of one of the players and steal his money. They're gonna have fun trying to pay for their expensive tastes.
Mage, that's vile.
It was better than what I was saying because that terror was providing the lube when I was referring to
it. How's Heroic going?
Hawktula.
Oh, jeez.
Oh boy, is Heroic going.
It's going. Okay.
Yeah, well, I'll leave that for Iman to tell.
Well, before you do that, if you want to see Heroic go properly, tune in Friday night. It's going to be a hell of a session.
Yes. Show up for that. That's good. That is good shit.
All right, Iman, how's Heroic going?
Okie doke. So yes, I think I was on last week when I said Oscar had planned something and he kidnapped my character's parents. So last session, the one just gone, it turns out that they've been kidnapped not for nefarious purposes. They've been kidnapped basically just to keep them out of the way as collateral, so that us heroes, can do our hero thing without any collateral. So it turns out, things looked bad. However, things are still bad, but not quite as bad for me as I thought they were. But long story short, so we're basically getting involved with a villain with a temporary truce for the sake of taking down a bigger evil called Seven for Satan. And they use very bad, very demonic magic powers, which only one of our characters has any knowledge of. Well, I guess we brought in another NPC called Warlock, who has much greater knowledge of things like that. So now we're going to see how things progress from there.
Seven for Satan. Boy, that's interesting. Whoever created them is a very creative fellow.
Huh.
I wonder who that might be.
Well, I do know that
you can find them on my Patreon. Sorry, go ahead, Sax.
For a simple $10 a month or a $5 a month, you get access to it all. Upgrade to $10, and you will also have access to the archives, where I have been collating together everything that's ever been published on the Patreon, so that you can simply download that. And would you look at that? There's also the whole new thing that's on the Patreon, which is that you can pay to basically be in a heroic game. It's a simple $25 a month. There'll be ones, I believe it's a once a month, 3 to 4 hours, and you get to play in a game run by, yours truly.
But this guy,
I
gave in. Yeah, I gave in. I finally put that up. I should have put it for 50, but I said I'll do it for 25. It's easier that way. No one's taken me up on it yet, but that's the way people are these days. I guess they watch my heroic games and they go, "Fuck, I don't want it. I'm not paying for that abuse." Well, you crazy?
Good plug. Anyway, good pluggage. Iman, what about last night? Tell them what happened last night. Last night,
can I show them the picture that someone very kindly drew?
Yeah, I will just let them know.
Or do you want to share it on the screen or something?
I can share it, but if you want, but yeah, I don't often do the whole content warning thing because I do believe horror games should be horrific. But I felt last night I just had to mention that things were going to get a little worse than usual. A little worse than usual.
Yes. And boy, did they.
And yes, they did. Yes, they did.
So
and this time it
for the
wasn't
past-
me making them worse. I was using the material that was in the adventure.
Yes, and boy, did you use that to its fullest.
Thank you.
So for the
Did
past
my job.
few sessions, we'd been we're in Constantinople, 1923, and we're looking to basically the Turks, the cult, the skin cult, have been kidnapping children, and we haven't found any of them. We've been trying to like find traces of where they'd been taken or anything like that. We went to the graveyard and we were basically digging up a grave, at which point we got surrounded by 40 cultists who then took us somewhere, strapped us to this stone monument. We realized that all 12 kids that had been kidnapped were there, and then they poured this like burning hot thing over them, like hot oil
Flesh.
or something.
Melted
That
flesh.
was it, melted
Melted
flesh. And they all turned into this amalgam that was just shambling towards us slowly.
You missed
on
out
its
a
little
few
baby
details. I
arms
mean,
and legs.
there've been at least 40 kids kidnapped. This was
Oh,
just
was it
12.
40?
This is just 12.
There's only 12 there. Okay, right.
When the kids were revealed to you, they were all sewn together, very sort of human.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. Though this adventure predates human centipede films. And yeah, it made this beast when the cultists poured the flesh over them. And those are meant to be the innocent's limbs on which it's walking. And good old Anne did a quick sketch of the scene. She's going to work on it some more. But it was pretty brutal. And we had another character drop to 0 sanity, almost die instantly.
Oh, he 0 sanity and minus 9 health or something. So 0, but still.
Yeah, and it was a little bit railroady in that sense. You could have avoided going to the graveyard, but
I thought we
only-
needed to go there.
Yeah,
One of the few places we hadn't checked yet.
the
Oh yeah, and we met someone there called Companion for the Dead, who John
Yes.
had way too much fun role playing.
oh yes, oh yes.
Like this
A
little. Well, it was a
adult
69-year-old man, but he was just acting very impish or gremlin-y or goblin-y.
Oh yeah, good. Yes. You could have avoided going to the graveyard if you hadn't gone to the graveyard. I would have pushed a cult ambush in town to bring you closer to Akhtar, the gypsy spy. But eventually he would have stepped in and given his information. But hey, it's one of those things. I did want you to go through this torment last night. Yes.
Well, after
It-
last
not
session,
necessarily-
we sort of needed to have something happen, didn't we? So
Yeah. Not necessarily the same thing would have happened. You would probably have been captured. I would have had to try and work something out in a different area. It wouldn't have been exactly the same, Andy. It would have been different. It was one of the only real way around this was to really press Akhtar on what his role is and get him really involved. But rather than just sort of see him in passing and then just let him go on his way. But you didn't know that. You didn't know that. And the adventure does expect you to get captured. So I would have worked around it if it hadn't have happened. Anyway, it was a good fun session. It was brutal.
it was very tense. We could have all died. There was a moment where each of us could have died from our own things that happened.
Yeah. There were
Like
a
I
number
could
of
have been. The thing grabbed me with one of its tentacle appendages and was trying to like eat me, and I just somehow broke out of it.
You'd have
Mike
had
got
one
squished.
more round. You'd have had one more round. If you'd have failed the next round against a harder check, you would have been eaten. Simple as that. Simple as that.
I needed to pass an extreme power check to survive Mr. Makriat doing his spell, and I rolled exactly what I needed for an extreme.
Yeah. You resisted you resisted 4 or 5 very nasty spells being flung at you.
Well, for the first 2 hours or so, the dice fucking hated us,
They did.
but when it mattered, they were on our side.
Yes. Doesn't that always seem to happen?
It does seem that way,
Yeah.
unless I'm playing D&D.
Yeah, it's funny.
Dan knows. Anyway.
Guys,
Actually,
the
a
thing of
thief.
random hand grenades or insane random attacks fast. Yes.
Oh my god, yeah, when Oliver threw the hand grenade, I'm like, you do realize me and William are like in the creature's grasp, right?
Yes. And but luckily for you, he missed. But equally, there were 2 characters who'd been driven to insane bouts of anger who were busy fighting each other as well. So, and they couldn't hit each other. So, it was one of those sessions where you could all have gone, but hey ho, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was very sick and very twisted. Daniel, you been playing any games?
Just what we did Saturday. Everything else
And
fell
Friday.
through.
No, you played on Friday, didn't you?
And Friday.
That too, yeah.
Just a reminder for everyone, Friday's game will be a live stream game again this week, 9 till midnight GMT. And we'll be continuing the masterwork of Nicholas Forby, a Cthulhu by Gaslight adventure. The characters have really just got to know the NPCs, and things are going to start happening.
Okay, Friday's game.
Mhm.
Do you plan on being done at midnight your time?
Yeah, I'm hoping to be, yeah.
Okay, because I have to leave town for the weekend.
Are they coming for you, are they?
What?
You said you've got to leave town, so they're coming for you, are they?
Yeah. So I have to leave at like 7:30, 12:30 your time at the latest.
Otherwise, they'll get you.
Well, no, my daughter's driving.
I was just talking about possible exes from the past coming for you or something like that.
You never know.
You never know.
But,
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I won't be around for any games on Saturday.
Okay.
My daughter made states for the debate club. So, yeah, it's getting expensive. But so we're going down to State College, Penn State, for her to do her speech, whatever it is.
Enjoy.
And then my stepson's getting married. So, yeah.
Enjoy again.
Cool.
Busy weekend ahead.
Yep.
Right. So we do have a topic for tonight. It's another Saxius chosen topic. And we're talking about religion within an RPG world. We're talking about the impact that it has. We're talking about the flavor it brings. We're talking about how mechanics are associated with religion in the game world and how certain characters interact with it. Aren't we, Saxius? You are muted.
That would be why you weren't reacting. Cool. Yes. Oh, yeah, that is spot on correct. The impact for it, because it has quite a big impact, both within the typical settings of fantasy, but also, that's still something you can see that comes out in other genres, whether it be sci-fi, even in the modern setting. So it's worth taking the time out as the game master to look at what it is that you're dealing with and how it interacts.
Absolutely. So, seeing as it is your topic, I'm assuming you got something prepared.
Standard. Yes. So
I do have things to say, but yeah, I'll let you.
It's almost like you know him.
Well, so first and foremost, what I basically want to start out with is that most of us, when we play in a fantasy game or in any form of that's got history inspired, there's going to be a priest, there's going to be a cleric, or something of that form. They're going to have their chosen religion, their chosen deity that they believe in, but that also means that they should be taking on a certain ethos, a certain belief that they should then be spreading out, and ideally, if you have a player that is of that background, of that profession, then they should ideally also be trying to influence the people that they are with. Trying to get them converted, trying them to bring them over to their light, as well as using any of the excuse to when you go out adventuring to expose other cultures to ideally consider or embrace your choice of faith. So that's
underplayed a lot from player character. A lot of player characters don't push that sort of thing.
Well, it can also be done the other way. I mean, I've seen where players have turned around, and I believe you've also mentioned it, Bear, where the cleric says, I shall of course heal you. Will you say a prayer to my god as I do so? Or you won't? Well, I'm afraid this spell is just remissing a little bit. I don't seem to have the faith, brother. Faith. Could you just...
It seems that Thonganar doesn't smile upon you today, friend.
Yeah.
Perhaps you'd consider a donation to the church.
And I like that. That is definitely something that I encourage, because you are going to be a cleric of a belief, or a priest, and ergo, you should be doing something about that. Hell, if you are then willing to sit down and just talk to me for a little bit, I will happily give you the calendar of the year and mark out the days that are important for you and your belief. Because, as I have at least mentioned on this stream and as well as on Discord, there is a Dragon magazine that specifically goes into how you could then have faith points for the clerics so that their actions are more important than the stock standard, you get 3 spells a day. It's like, no. Much like the wizard having to sit down, find the spells, learn the spells, and incorporate the spells, the priest has got to work for his food. And that means prayers, it means doing the holy rites, it means doing the rituals, and ideally doing a couple of conversions or baptisms if that's the route that you wanted to go.
Guys, he just took his glasses off, which is like the equivalent of them turning the gun sideways in a movie. It's like, ooh, yeah. It's serious.
It's just because sometimes the reflection I'm seeing in my glasses annoy me, so I just take them off and it's like, okay, you need my undivided attention.
Does anybody want to sing?
Sing?
Played your part.
No.
Why?
No. Do not do that. Do not do that. My God. Every time I do one of these shows, I lose a little more respect for you. How do you manage to do that every time, brother? I'm going to be joining Sax soon and just ragging on you all night. It's going to be brutal.
But yeah, but that's generally where I sort of kick it off, is that the priest of the group has got to be doing more than just being a band-aid. I mean, that's the main complaint I hear anyway. It's like, I don't want to be the band-aid. Fine, then be the goddamn missionary.
Yeah.
Actually do what you're meant to be doing. Convert the other people. And it is lovely when you actually get them to do that. I have seen a player become so unirrationally territorial when I had a rival cleric show up, discuss with the player characters, and actually get them to be interested in his belief, with the other cleric going, no, you can't talk to them, you can't convert them. Like, why? Have you done it? Have they converted to your religion? No, because I respect their beliefs. Well, I respect them too, but I just think that their way of life is more encompassing to what I am presenting. Go on.
Question?
Yeah.
He respected their beliefs?
Yeah.
I
leave
sound like
the
any
player
cleric
to
that I know.
Was he of the Church of the Loose Shoulder? Like what?
Don't know.
I don't know. Whatever they say is fine by me. I mean, really,
Like,
live and let live. That's what I always say. You know, like, what?
yeah.
Clerics
I-
should absolutely all be like Sir David.
I just said there's like that's you just digging yourself a hole. The other guy's just like, well, you
Listen,
do that, but their way of life is right here for me.
Let's look at how people who are believers in our own world,
Sure.
where you can debate the presence of divinity, right? Like there's no hard proof. There's lots of conjecture and faith and all that. Imagine how much more zealotry you would see in a world where you can demonstrably prove the existence of your God through woogity pow.
Yes. Yes.
People would be acting a whole lot more Old Testament than they would be New Testament, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
Crazy.
But again, listen, not all players come with the same level of experience or expectations, which is fine. I'm not going to start berating them personally for that. I'm just going to give them a hard time in the game.
Well,
Because
yeah.
they're just going to be easy competition for the rivals.
Or when they go to cast their spell, it doesn't go off. Why not?
Yeah. Isn't that
you
what
do your ministrations? Did you do your prayers? Did you tithe? Did you make offerings on the brazier? Did you do any of the things you're supposed to do? No.
Yeah.
Guess who's not giving you any favor this week?
But
Forgadal has nothing for you this week. Anyway, sorry, guys. Thanks.
No, it's just you bring up a very nice mechanic actually, because I believe in which is also being played tonight, the Savage Pathfinder, OSE
We're
Pathfinder.
playing
now.
OSC now. We don't play Savage Pathfinder anymore. We play
Okay,
OSC.
OSE Pathfinder.
Savage USA.
It's whatever it is. You still do the rolls to see whether the spells go off.
Yes.
Which is it's an easy thing the way you've outlined it. Awesome. I'm stealing that, by the way, because it sounds good. I quite like that. And for a priest, that again makes sense. And if you've then done your religious duties, and if you've done them well, you can then start having bonuses in, meaning that it's easier for you to cast them out, or you can then retain the favor to then turn around and say, I need to pull in my favor, my divinity, to ask for some more power to either.
I like this faith points thing you were talking about. I want to know more about that.
I will dig that up.
Dig it out. But
Dig,
of course,
dig,
I mean,
get in there and dig it out.
as you say, Bear, they are in most fantasy games. They are playing in a world where the divine is demonstrably there in their
undeniable. Undeniable. Like I saw someone once in a D&D game say, I'm going to play, my character's atheist. I went, how? How the fuck is your character an atheist in this world?
No. I believe every single character. It shouldn't just be the clerics who play to who.
Yes, we know you do that. We see it in Codex Albana all the time.
Oh yeah.
Devere
Oh, that's the thing that's on Saturday.
What? Try what?
What?
I didn't hear what you said.
That's the
Oh,
thing.
that's
That's on
fingers.
Yes, that's the thing that's on Saturday. Yes, but yes,
That's how that works
I
out
think
for you on Saturday.
it doesn't have to be just clerics who are devout in their beliefs. I think lots of other characters should show that sort of. If you've got a serious campaign in a world that isn't just sort of cobbled together, you have your beer and pretzels games. That doesn't matter so much. But we're talking about really sort of ongoing serious campaigns here. Your characters should you should be putting thought into the gods of the world, the customs of the world, and whatever your character is. If you play a class-based game or whatever, it's a consideration every player should have. And as Bear says, you can't just turn around and go, "No, I'm an atheist. Don't believe in any of it," when they are demonstrably there in front of your face. With the cleric, if you're with a cleric and the cleric goes, everyone is magically healed. Where did that come from?
Obviously, he's some sort of wizard. He's not divine. It's just he's a magic user. No, Steve. He's there's a whole church built around him. And remember that thing where he made food? I can't do that. I'm a wizard. He did it. You know.
I played in a game where a guy was playing a lawful neutral cleric. He absolutely would not cast any spells on anybody outside of his own faith.
Mhm.
And even if you were a member of his faith, he took you through the protocol of his church.
Yeah.
If I am to cast this, blah, 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 then it will require such and such a tithe and such an attendance. And yes, and if you could just, we will be requiring you at the church on the next fall, dawn, 2 days' time, because this is what the god requires. And he would go through all this rigmarole just to cast any spell on anybody. And it was fantastic. It's really good. It's what I want to see. I like to see more of. Now, one thing we don't see of, I know, Bear, in your game, you have mirrored a version of real life medieval times in that it's a monotheistic culture.
Well, yeah. So the idea of the known world is that the known world, in my world, the West, which is larger than the West, it's actually goes quite far east, is very loosely based on real world places, so it's easier for people to understand, right?
Yes.
So the first thing that happened was I had to figure out what I wanted to do as a religion, because I cannot and will never digest medieval cultures that are polytheistic. Medievalism comes out of monotheism, right? That's just the way it is.
Well, for the most part, the world was monotheistic at that time. There were some. I mean, obviously, Native American Indians and
sure, but that's not the medieval culture. That's something else completely. So the first thing I did was I was like trying to think of good names, and the thing is, the word Christ means it comes from Christos, which means anointed, right? So I was looking. So I do a lot of linguistics play. And eventually I came up with this idea of a character of a godling called Pella Arist that was believed to be a pagan god, and turns out is now being hailed as the prophet of God, the High Father, right? And then I took a southern Middle Eastern style religion called Zahirism, and I had it migrate through trade up into the north and into the west, where it started to become, much like we saw in our world, a Middle Eastern religion getting turned into a European religion. That eventually became Erastianism, which is, people are the Erastianity. They are Erastian, and more importantly than that, it's now schismed into what's the word I'm looking for?
Sex.
Thank you. So you have the primary form of it, which came up and became what is called Elysian Catholicism, which is based out of the country of Othe, and specifically the city of Elise. There is an Eastern Orthodoxy, which is more closer to the Zahiric origin than it is to what Elysian Catholicism become. That's called Brightonian Orthodoxy, because of the city of Brightonia, where it's from. On the island of Albana, where you guys are playing, there was the Pendrick Reformation, which was done by a king, much like Henry did in England with the Church of England. And then within the Brightonian Orthodoxy, there's an extreme group of Estradi, who are Estradi evangelicals, who basically are the most boring people on the planet. They believe in only having sex on the high holiday once a year, hopefully to produce a child.
Puritans.
There's no ornamentation allowed. They do use plate armor. They're the only people that have perfected the idea of plate armor so far in the world, which makes them hell on wheels in fights. But
so you're the first DM I've come across who's put Oliver Cromwell into a game.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a little bit what it's based on. A little bit. So all of this is based on these things, right? But as Andy knows, and Hungar knew, there's actually a sub-religion underneath of it all, right? Which is the actual proper religion. It's all of these ideas that exist in Zahirism and Orthodoxy and Catholicism and the Reformation, but it's actually not those things. It's a subtly different thing. It's a united faith. It's a faith of the gray faith, basically. Now, around that, you have paganism, you have old gods and all this kind of stuff. I mean, there at one point the entirety of the Ophasian continent was ruled by the Illyrian Empire, which was a polytheistic empire, much like the Romans. So you have all of this sort of stuff left over that is real, but as we see your character constantly going on about is demonism, because there is the character of the adversary, also known as Typhon, also known as the devil, who is the prince of evil, and all of this fun stuff. So it's kind of a lot of fun. It's kind of fun watching. You're the only character player, to be honest, who embraced it wholly. Iman tries a bit, but he doesn't really, but he tries. But his character's stuck between Pendrick Reformation and a specific form of Zahirism, because the Zahiric faith is also not united as one faith. Mm-hmm. So all of this stuff is very interesting to me, and that's the fact that characters would be affected by this stuff. The fact that this would affect the characters' lives. It affects politics. It affects everything in the fucking world,
as it did in the Middle Ages in Europe. It absolutely dominated. Yeah, Manfred. I think the point Bear's already clarified that it. when we talk about Middle Ages in terms of fantasy games, we do tend to mean a European inspired Middle Ages.
When we say medieval and we say Middle Ages, we are referring specifically to Europe, not the rest of the fucking world. If you want to, in my world, you can hop on a boat, go east, and wind up in Kashmir, and you can meet the Kashmiri and their million gods anytime you want. Sail far enough south and you'll find my version of Africa, where there's plenty of fucking gods. Go west far enough, you'll find the New World, which has lots and lots of weird gods over there too. That's not the point. The point is that where the campaign is focused is a representation of Europe and North Africa and Eastern Europe. That's all.
Absolutely, and Manfred did make another comment about why not we have people who ignore reality all the time. You would treat people in those times much with the same disdain that we quite rightfully treat flat earthers nowadays. It's that level of denial.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, listen, you can deny bullets will go through your head as much as you like until the bullet goes through your head, and then the denial is over, right? Yeah. And that's the level, but that's the point. That's the level of the reality. Denying reality in a fantasy world that happens to have clerics, denying that those gods exist, is the same as saying, I can fly and jump off a building. It's that quick an answer. You know what I mean? There's no room for debate. There's no room for any of that bullshit. It's going to happen. You're going to have your answer in about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the way I see it anyway. Obviously, people can see it differently, but the way I see it in this sort of game is, I mean, I have played in games where clerics have no powers, and for example, early Dragonlance, start of Dragonlance, the clerics are powerless, so that you could have people there denying what they hear, the stories they hear, because the clerics can't demonstrate, because the gods have withdrawn. In those cases, it's fine. But in a typical fantasy game where you have clerics wielding divine magic, it's there, it's in their faces.
Yeah. But at the same time, I still don't believe that a Western medieval society would be polytheistic. It would be monotheistic with various sects and schisms and what have yous, causing strife and conflict. I mean, you would have, the king has just declared a war on the northern province. Why? Because the northern province is now worshiping this form of our religion that is heathen and outlawed. Hey, Halakar, look at you, man.
Halakar, good man. I'm just looking around for them.
Here's who got them. Rivendell Coins and Antiquities. That is an awesome name. I love it. Hyrax, The Crafting Gamer, Richard the Dungeon Crawler, Jerry Williamson, Master Blaster, Nerdy Ogre, and Janet from Another Planet, and Barney Fraggles.
Recognize pretty much all of those, I think.
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
recognize at least two-thirds of them.
Yeah.
But I love Rivendell Coins and Antiquities. That is a great name.
Yeah. That's a new name for me. That's a new name. I mean, we aren't talking about Bear's game specifically, though Bear was just talking about that, Manfred. But I mean, even there, we do have visible sort of. There is, I mean, it's not as visible as in your typical Forgotten Realms, Greyhawk, or something like that. But we are trying to emulate a medieval Europe feel. Certainly, when I play the part of Devere, I am trying to put my mind in that of an insular Catholic from that time, who is desperately clinging on to what he was taught, and what he was taught to believe was absolutely right and true. And he doesn't want to hear anything else because it goes against everything that he always lived for.
Devere's worst enemy.
Go ahead.
Devere's worst enemy is cognitive dissonance.
Yes. I mean, even after he has literally been saved by magic on more than one occasion, still refers to it as evil and witchcraft and all this kind of stuff.
And that holy united prayer, which we all felt, and this guy decides his character's the only one who still thinks, no, my way is the right way.
Yeah. It's going to take more than just a couple of things to remove sort of like 25 years of.
I'm sure
like,
Laurelin grabbing you and calling you a fucking dimwit would have been one of those things too.
Oh, that was a great moment, though. That was a great moment. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Thoroughly deserved. But I'm playing a guy who is stupid, though, as well. You try argue. I've already mentioned the flat earthers. You stand and have an argument with a flat earther. What nonsense will they come up with to justify their position?
No. What's even worse is when they have some nuggets that make sense in their argument. And then you just go, oh, fuck. You know, like now I get why your brain's going there. Because you latched onto these weird things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I think in a medieval sense, if I was playing a bard and I was having a conversation with the equivalent of a flat earther in a medieval society fantasy game that was denying the existence of the gods, I'd want to not just dismiss him. I'd want to hear the arguments. I'd want to hear why this person thinks this way. I'd want to understand their thought process as much as I could, because that would help me, you know, in the future dealing with people like them again.
Devere doesn't understand his own thought processes. That's the thing.
Devere doesn't understand how fucking shoes work. Let's be honest.
He has got, according to the character generation rules that we used, he has effectively got the lowest possible intelligence that you can have. So there you go.
But enough about Devere.
No, there's never enough about Devere. But no, I thought it was. I'm trying to use him as an example because it fits this stream. I believe that religion is something that is integral to a game set in that period, and I think it's the responsibility of the players to run with that. I will openly say now, I am an atheist. I've never followed any religious teachings in my life. Openly dismissed them at school. Argued with teachers at school. That sort of thing. But when it comes to a fantasy game, when it comes to a game where I'm trying to emulate an era, you've got to sort of push away these. But the amount of times I have seen people in Reddit, Facebook forums, whatever, say, but I want to play an atheist cleric. My reply to that is, they do not exist. You can't. It's an oxymoron. You can't do that. You can't have your spells. Oh, what sort of dick DM would let me make a cleric and not let me have spells? No, it wouldn't be a dick DM if you're going to say you don't follow a god. It doesn't say in the book that clerics have to follow a god. It's a and it's like,
where are you getting favor from then?
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
depends on the edition you're going to be looking at. Because I know in 3.5 and the third edition, it basically boiled down to if you have enough of a strong faith towards something, you can have your own homemade god in that way, which created some interesting situations where one player would say, "My god is this banana." All right, cool. The moment that's destroyed, you lose all your powers.
Yeah.
That's like great. But I've also had the argument of I'm an atheist. It's like, well, where's your power towards? My disbelief in gods is so great. It's like, well, you're believing in nothing, ergo nothing can give back to you. It's going into the void. We're not really having this discussion anymore, and that's it.
Atheism, by its definition, is the absence of faith.
Yeah, but what we are, as we've established, there is something coherent that is giving you the powers back.
Mm-hmm.
You can even go into the
Absolutely.
more obscure case, such as the old Warhammer world, where you have Sigmarites, Ulrics, and the Chaos Gods. There is something concrete there. However, there's still the debate of whether or not the distinction between the warrior priests of Sigmar is actually just conjuring forth magic because they say wobbly words and do hand gestures, the same things that the wizards do, and that's something that's been left open for interpretation to the readers, rather than a hard set. This is absolutely real, unless you are actually going into the Age of Sigmar and the oh god, what's it called again? The end of the world that the Warhammer world faced. Those I personally discount.
I haven't played enough of that world to really know a lot about it. I mean, I played a little bit of Warhammer Fantasy with Gingerbeard when in the game, and we were very low level. We were generally ignoring a lot of that sort of stuff because we were just your rat catchers, sewer worker types who were just trying to make a coin to get through.
Yeah, and you will be exposed to the thing that doesn't exist. And if you speak about the thing that doesn't exist, John, you are killed.
We didn't speak about any of that. So
That's right. You did not see any rat men in the sewers. They do not exist. Either way, that's neither here nor there. But there's a great deal of other things that comes through once you're going to be having things that is going to be bringing forth faith. There's a lot of good that's going to be coming out of it. Look at the communities that's going to be built around them, and look at you're going to be having what's called tithes. You're going to have alms and the likes. Any form of goodwill that's going to be given in. And generally speaking, the concept is also that the local priests are then looking to then invest that back into the community to raise it up and to bring in the flock to keep them secure and to keep the faith strong, because it is important to have faith. One of the things, again, I'm going to refer to the video game Kingdom Come Deliverance. A core center part of playing that game is that you get exposed to a lot of what happens with religion, the various schisms, the different interpretations of the same text. Not to mention that if you get any of the expansions, you then get to see how religion plays into the actual creations of lore, because it does play into the aspect of the moral fabric. Now,
and then of course, I mean, that whole interpretation, that's interesting, because I mean that does mimic reality as well. It mimics our world. How many arguments do we see with these sort of with these sort of discussions going on? I mean, Iman, for example. Iman, you're
yes,
alive?
I'm here.
I'm talking about Sunni versus Shia.
Yes,
It's all to do with something that happened at the 7th or 8th century AD, some battle of some sort. And
yes.
No, the Sunny versus Cher argument happened in the 70s when they had a divorce, but they still had a show. That's what you said, right? Sunny versus Cher?
Sunni and Shia. yeah.
Okay.
But no, I mean,
Sunni, you fucking Brits.
Sunni.
You steal everybody's artifacts, put them in the British Museum, but you can't pronounce any of their words.
But that's what. But say, Iman, but that is down to interpretation of that historical event and belief of who was in the right. I believe it's something like that.
Yeah, and there's arguments for both sides, 100%. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been, to this
Wasn't
day.
it based on who would take over after Muhammad died? Isn't that
That's
where the
right,
schism
yeah.
happens?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we get those sort of disagreements over religious texts, religious events, that sort of thing. And that sort of thing, if you bring that into a gaming world, it just makes that gaming world feel more logical, more grounded.
Everyone's looking at you, Sax.
Yeah, I just raised it up to see, if I'm allowed to speak.
Yeah.
Stepping out into the game of Pendragon, for example, there is actually quite, at least in the game I've run, there is an important decision you have to make at the beginning, depending on what timeline you're starting in the Pendragon story. I began roughly around the invasion of Cornwall by Uther Pendragon, and I had the players pick: are you a Christian or are you a pagan? Now, at the beginning, that's not much of a big deal, because the Earl you are working under is effectively he is keeping the peace, and he wants everyone to just work the land, pay your taxes, and just proceed onward. Well, the Earl will die. That is a part of it, and his son is not a very tolerant person. Not to mention the build up to that period. There's a lot of schism, and in my situation with my game, the Christians began going, we don't like the fact that the players and many of the other pagans are now creating this economic powerhouse. We don't like that. So we're now going to start banding together, and we're going to start doing these other aspects. And there were moments where players had to then choose, like, are we staying pagan, or are we now going to face conflict potentially with our lord, leading to some of the players having to then choose to wade into the rivers and be baptized in order for them to stave off a civil war in their region.
Thanks for curious, by the way. Thank you. I say, but Pendragon. I mean, I've only ever played one session of it, and it's something a game I would like to. I've said before, I'd love to get into, because it feels like it's my sort of thing. But from what I remember, I mean, it's based on Arthurian legend, isn't it?
Yes.
Which of course is 400 or 500 years prior to a typical D&D sort of campaign. It's where it's meant to be. You're talking about sort of 600, 700, 800 AD, sort of back then.
You don't have plate mail. You don't have plate mail. That's it. The equivalent, the highest peak of technology you are going to be having is chainmail. That is the absolute peak, unless you are this shit I've pulled in my players. Some of the Italian mercenaries that can come in and it's like, you're screwed now. You are absolutely screwed. They have got armor you cannot pierce. Have fun, kids. But but that I will be transparent. That game did devolve into Crusader Kings of Pendragon, but that was fun for me because I've never seen players get absolutely vicious about owning a mill, like owning a mill and not wanting to share that technology with anyone. Absolutely delicious.
I'd enjoy that.
Yeah. Anyway,
but of course, Dead History and Hobbies. The mail is the correct name. I mean, chain mail. It was never known as chain mail. Mail, a suit of mail.
Whatever.
Oh, was that right?
Yeah, that is correct. It was never. It's technically not chain, but that's neither here nor there.
Quick! Let's argue about whether longsword's a term. Fucking nerds.
Arming sword.
Either way, what you then also going to be having is that you're going to be having, when it comes to religions, if you're going to moving away from monotheistic, when you're going to be having more of a polytheistic, it's going to be. I'm going to use the Norse one for this because you are going to be finding throughout a lot of the Norse mythology, there is this undercurrent of conflict and battle that is found across many of the gods because they were leading a life of struggle against nature, struggle against man, and just struggle against
the Greeks. It was just shagging.
Yes, there was a lot of fucking in that mythology, an unholy amount of that. Which that's fine, but that again you can see the very clear distinctions when we look at the Greek mythology versus the Viking mythology or the Norse mythology. There is very different ways of life that they're undergoing, and they're also again looking to finding comfort in their miserably short time frame. because it was a very rough time for the Scandinavians at the time, and ergo they were expecting to have the world would reflect that, the stories would reflect that. It is quite grisly, and you will also find a lot of tricks, trickery, not to mention just Zeus just being on terribly horny and deciding like I'm gonna do this, and his wife being horribly jealous. I believe she was the one who actually created the Gorgons, or the first Medusas, in the Greek mythology, because she simply went, I'm jealous of this woman, ergo make her now, so into this snake person that turns other people into stone.
I will not sit here and hear you talk bad about her.
Are you happy with that joke?
Yeah, I'm pretty good with that.
Yeah,
one.
I would
That's
be
good.
as well. I
don't make them often, but when you're going to make them classic.
Yeah, well, it's hard. Enjoy. Yes, but my point is, you're going to be having a cultural shift in how it is then reflected. If you're going to be having something like a polytheistic, there will be an underlying theme within it which you can find.
Dan's talking to the avatar of his god right now.
Yep.
I know. I have two of the acolytes in my house as well.
Is that Bast, the Egyptian goddess with the cat head?
No. Only specific types of cats would be Bast. This is more like a generic overlord, feline, divine spirit.
This is the evil asshole that made two dogs that weighed 110 pounds each sit down and shut up and go to the living room.
That's right.
The house.
All right.
I can't say your name. I'm not Swedish. I'm sure Sax could tell us how to pronounce that properly. How do we say it?
Svinfluke.
Svinfluke?
Yep.
Svinfluke. There you go. Yeah, exactly. I made that joke, but I complained about singing. Amazing. What a crazy level of diversity I have in my skull. I'm fucking with you.
Oh, look, it's Church Hole.
But as you say,
Church Hole.
The underlying themes of conflict in the Norse pantheon is what makes it particularly rich, and I think it's what draws people into the likes of Thor and Odin.
Yeah, but we don't have an accurate picture of that stuff, right? We only have really one source on that. And if anything has taught us over the years of looking at actual polytheistic religions from around the world, one source is never the. Look how many conflicting Greek mythological sources there were, or how many conflicting Hindu mythological sources there are, or Egyptian, or what have you, right? Like they're always different. So we go from, was it the Prosetta? What is it? This Icelandic poem that we get everything from? What the hell's it called?
So you've got like the sagas, and then you've also got the other ones, which was scriptures preserved by a Christian monk.
Yeah, and I never trust anything preserved by Christian monks. That's like documentary makers. They had an agenda. You know what I mean? Like they had an agenda.
Oh,
so
definitely.
It's very interesting that we have this sort of stuff where we've really bought into almost one narrative of Norse mythology, when it could have been far more complex than we know or understand because of our lack of understanding and lack of documentation, right? Celtic myth is even worse. They didn't write shit down. You know what I mean? So we're left with only Christian monk interpretation of that stuff, which is why we get Wicca.
And that was all one-sided.
Sorry, what's that? Was that
It
Dan?
would have been all one-sided, yeah. They painted the Celts to be a savage, but the Celts survived for many, many hundreds of years, and there's every chance they weren't quite as savage as it was made out. But who knows? We don't know. And we never will. We can't know because the evidence doesn't exist.
But people still argue about it, right? So if we can have people arguing about it in the real world, imagine what an argument in the fantasy world would be like. Especially if you have a polytheistic fantasy world where down here in the Grand Duchy of Karamikos, we worship X, Y, and Z, but up there in the Sotoford Jarldoms, they worship X, Z, Y, and X. Like it gets really confusing. And the idea that you could have this group of like diverse religious ideals all coming together is really weird. It's just absurdly weird, you know?
Mercurius does make a point that Christian monks are the reason why we have manuscripts, because I say the Celts didn't write things down, but we don't know. We genuinely do not know what we have found. We have found evidence of human sacrifice from the Celtic era,
Of course.
but we don't know the whys and the wherefores and everything. It's actually, you were going to say.
Well, I was going to start, steering maybe onward to something else. You can also have the specialties within the religions, and this is where we're going to be getting into the topics such as paladins, the warriors of the faith. You will have, the missionaries that will be going forth, and you'll be having the variety. I believe you've got quite a strong belief that the paladins should be considered to be the equivalent of the
I
clerics.
people off with this when I say in D&D clerics should be banned.
Mhm.
Clerics would have things to do. They would have parishioners to parish over. You know what I mean? They would have flocks to tend. They don't have time to go dungeon delving. Paladins, on the other hand, nothing but time to spread the word of their god. You know what I mean? Nothing but time. That's what they're there for. So for me, yeah, I tended. I don't anymore, but when I run D&D, I used to ban clerics as a class. Just no class.
Or just make the cleric class and rename it into being a paladin. Done.
Yeah, except I hate cleric spellcasting. So if we're going to slip into D&D now, I can talk about that. John, are we slipping into D&D talk now?
We can do, yes.
By the way, I'd like you to mark this on the calendar. I'd like to talk about D&D right now.
Whoa. Whoa. Who are you and what have you done with Bear?
Living it.
So what I do in my D&D now, or I try to do, but I'm not doing it in my OSC because I haven't written it up yet, is I take the spellcasting away from clerics. I give them channel energy. And then so their initial channel energy is to either they have like different types of channel they can do. They can do a healing channel. They can damage the undead channel. They can do a boosting channel. They can do all these different types of channels that they can get now. And as they go up in levels, they learn different ways to channel their divine energy into their friends, into their enemies, what have you. But their gods also provide them with miracles every day. And those are spells they get. Once per day they can cast this spell. Once per day they can cast that spell. But Bear, what about all the healing spells? What happens to those? They become necromantic magic. So there's always a scar. There's always a reminder of the healing. There's always, that, it healed, but it hurt like fuck while it was going on. And you were screaming in the tent as the really stinky guy who likes to dig through the graveyards was administering this to you. But for the gods, I have the energy be channeling. So they pray and they channel. And it makes them different from wizards, because that has always been my problem with wizards and clerics, is they use the exact same spellcasting formula. They use the exact same mechanic for spellcasting. Therefore, I don't find that interesting. I would much rather the cleric or the holy man, the priest, the prophet, the saint, whatever you want to call them, have a different mechanic. And Pathfinder was the one that brought in this idea of all this channel divinity stuff. And I just adapted it over, and it works really, really, really well. But now I want to learn about these faith points that you were discussing earlier, because that sounds aces to me. That sounds like really cool.
I am flagging comments in chat, by the way, for us to come to in a bit. But yeah, I'd like to hear about these faith points as well, because I think that's something that really could give depth to a cleric class. And encourage the player to really think about playing the part of a cleric.
Sure. I mean, I can go into briefly what it is, but I am also looking for the magazine that specifically has those rules. But it basically boils down to take the cleric, take his faith, and start actually going into details of what it is. What is the pantheon form? What's their stick? What's their belief? And if it's a monotheistic, great. Have the overarching idea. Have major moments of holiday events, constellation situations. Have practices. ask questions such as, when do you pray? Which is one thing that I would always do to the players is basically go, when do you pray? Is it the morning? Is it the evening? When do you do your reset? Is it the middle of the afternoon? You've got to set it in, and then that player has got to make a note of it and religiously, pun intended, make sure that they do this. It is setting out the framework for how that character is meant to be operating within his religious organization, within his ethos.
Sharing something, John.
I found the magazine. It's Dragon 236.
Is it Dragon 236?
236, yes.
Yeah, I found it as well. Yeah.
Dragon
Heroes
236 for anyone else to look it up.
I'm gonna download this and for sure give this a read later. Thank you, Sax.
I'm popping it in our private chat. It's obviously it's not a.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop my screen share. There we go. Yeah, that's the same one I found. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. Thank you. Wonderful. But yeah, that is one of the things that I effectively go in and I try to sort of make use of. It's the one thing I encourage because to me it is fun. It means that there's an actual mechanic behind why the priest would go out and do this, and you can even turn around and say, right, well, depending on your faith, we can now basically go into almost free casting, depending on if you are religious enough. And you, as a DM, because you are the one who is ticking these off, you are the one who are in control of how faithful have you been? Have you intervened? I mean, It can even be other moments, such as, that someone was in danger, but you decided to ignore it. But your faith tells you that you must stand up for the people who cannot defend for themselves. Well, you've ignored that, so that's now a major tick, and then you subtract that amount of points. Yeah. And again, it means that the player, it's not something that the player sits and calculates, it's something that you, the game master, has got control over. And then the player can say, oh, I want to do this, but can I really push myself in? It's like, yeah, your God is allowing you to do that. It's like, you try to do that. Seems like there's a lack of faith in here, and I'm actually going to need you to roll to see whether your current faith is able to pull this off. It's like, oh no, what have I done? What have I done?
Yeah, I mean, it brings in an uncertainty, and I think one of the issues I have with I'm gonna dick on 5th edition again. I always do. Is the fact that everything seems to be very certain in 5th edition. Your characters get such and such a powers. They don't fail. The combat is designed so that most people hit most rounds because they decide that players didn't like it when their characters missed. They get lots of cool powers that they bonus actions, all that sort of stuff, and everything's so certain. You're going to recover all your hit points at the end of the day. Everything's so certain. And one of the things that I enjoy about role-playing games is a degree of uncertainty. I don't like being able to predict how things are going to turn out. I like having that a nervousness when I'm playing, knowing that anything could go wrong at any time. Sometimes, often at the whims of the dice. Usually,
I felt it when I was running my first game.
Yeah, I think, and I thrive on that uncertainty as a player and as a DM. I don't like predictability, which is complete opposite to my day-to-day life.
But that's how you get your catharsis, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You like to play trollish characters like Devere and that goddamn goblin campaign.
But it's true though. Uncertain games are more entertaining. They're more engaging.
Last night was very uncertain, and it was very fun.
Yeah. So Saxius, yes, this whole faith point thing sounds good to me.
But the point of this, again, me being a numbers guy, this is a great thing, but it also means that you can actually, again, force the players to roleplay. because there is a mechanical incentive for them to go out of their way. It does mean that you, the DM, have got to sit there and go, okay, I now need to do this, this, and this. Or it maybe just speaking to your leniency, John, you can subcontract this to the players and tell them to do this for you.
It's fine. As long as people are honest about it, yeah.
Well, as long as they submit their homework, in my opinion. It's like you want to do the faith yourself, great. Now give it to me in writing so that I can keep you to the fire.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely fine. If they can, if I like to be able to trust my players to do that sort of thing, it allows me more freedom to do the bits that I enjoy.
Don't trust them. Have them cuffed and review everything they do. Get out the highlighters and highlight everything that they submit.
Everything has to be audited by this man here.
At least 3 times. They come with a backstory. Give it to me. Give me that. Give me any reason to cause you pain and suffering. Especially,
he will highlight, he will underline, he will color code, he will fuck you up in every way imaginable.
And even better, because now that we're going into the whole aspects of the faith points, the faith beliefs, and the likes, you're also going to be moving into the whole thing of what about if you've got specialty priests?
What's that then?
What's that? That is when you've got
about these on Friday, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Now, this is when a priest can just go in and dedicate himself for either a specific god, ignoring what D&D's got with the whole, at least the early versions being, it's a generic cleric. No. You are a specialized priest. You have one god. That particular god, you have devoted yourself in heart, your body, your goddamn soul is invested into this. There is some return investments for this, which means that depending on the god, you're going to be getting some really cool powers back, some cool aspects. Be a priest of Talos, get a little bit higher up. You will be able to cast in summon lightning. That's awesome. You can really do some things. You are going to be an absolute mess because your god is chaotically evil. You are going to be causing some havoc in your belief systems, but it can work. You will get some cool things. I like it. You can also be going down the whole route of being a dedicated priest of Palor, because I love Palor. Just the whole idea that you stand there and you believe that the sun is the holiest thing. Praise be to the sun. Stand there and T-pose, and whenever you see the undead, you will beat the snot out of them. You will grind their bones into absolute dust, because that is where they should be, dead, staying dead. And anyone that goes into the whole, well, let's just worship darkness. No, let's beat you to fucking hell. Let's go into the deep dark places. Let's shed some light in there. Palor will find you and we will beat you.
Who hurt
because you're a good guy. You are a good guy, and you believe that by shining light upon these absolute demented beings.
I ask him this every week.
Seriously,
You remember when we were on that live stream and you were saying D&D is not therapy? I'm like, it fucking is for Saxius.
My point is, with these, specialized priests, you can really bring out these things. You can then use the fate points. You can then have the player sit down and go like, okay, I'm really going to read up on this one because it is important. It is important that you understand what it is that you're doing. And even more so, you as the DM, you can really sit down and go like, I am going to be watching what you do. And it's going to be fun for the both of us because there's going to be those moments where that's what my players do. They squirrel together their faith points. And then in the moment of absolute dire need, they spend it like it's water, throwing it on the fire like it is, well, like they are the firemen. Wonderful times. But now they've got to work it all back. See,
I will say, I mean, one thing I ran just before the pandemic, I was running an AD&D. Second edition game in Summerland, a world I created at the time. It's still on the back burner. That group's have disintegrated due to the pandemic and changes in people's life. And one of the things I most enjoyed was putting together my own little pantheon. And for each of them, the name I drew from Old English, all the names. So I would look, I created 9 gods. I kept it simple, 9 gods, 1 for each alignment, but I wasn't completely, utterly specific about everything. There would be some overlap. Gave them all something that fitted with the general ethos of the alignments. Gave them some imagery. Their names, I typed in something to do with what they were the god of into an Old English translator. And it spilled out various words from Old Norse or Saxon or something those sort of old Germanic language, the languages, the multitude of languages that were spoken across the British Isles, going back 1,000 odd years. And I pulled a name that fitted for each god. And then I created a version of the speciality priest for each god and offered those to the players. I said, you can play a generic cleric, or you can play one of these. And I probably didn't balance them properly. Who cares? I had a lot of fun doing that. A lot of fun. I spent too much time doing that and not enough time thinking about the adventures, I think. But I enjoy that sort of thing. Thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah.
And
it's good stuff, and it also means that you are now investing into the world. It helps expand upon your world, and for the players, it also means you can then chop them down with some nice stacks of paper for them to read, and then here you go. That's that is your homework now. Get to reading. This is your god. You want to invest into this, and here you are, pre-made stuff for you. But
I don't give them things to read.
I absolutely would on that. I mean, I do it to my sci-fi group. But again, I'm just going to refer back into one of the second edition books, which is the Complete Priest's Handbook. Now, this doesn't sit here with anything overly cool like some of the other ones where it has, we've got cool spells and so on. But it has some wonderful expansions on where you can sit down and say, right, what would a sample priesthood look like for animals, for birth, children, crafts, fertility, fire, healing, lightning, and the likes? It goes through the variations of the various spheres and beliefs and tells you how a priesthood or how a religion would be based around that, so that you can take that as an inspiration. It then goes on to discuss, what kind of priest or cleric could you be? Are you, your wandering one? Are you your warrior paladin? What kind of rituals do you have? Do you have what's called? Do you fast? How do you handle funerals? How do you see martyrdom? It asks you questions to then sit down and go like, well, how would this work out? How would this be? And then that in turn means that you can sort of expand upon what the text says versus what the priesthood might say. And then that can open up a myriad of doors for role-playing for the person who wants to play the cleric or the man of faith.
It looks like Nikki likes your cat, Daniel.
No. Yeah, he's a pain in the ass, though, Nikki.
But it's very apt that Daniel's cat is on the stream tonight, because Daniel's cat is called Church.
There you go. Yep. There is
that. Is that the name of the cat? Church?
Church
Yes.
Hole, because
After
Dan
the
likes
cat
to call him an
from the
asshole.
movie.
Pet Cemetery, isn't it? Pet
Yeah.
Cemetery where the cat's called Church?
Yes.
You fucking guy. You.
Well, apparently he looked like that cat. That's why he named him that.
But he's very much Daniel's cat, isn't he? When
I
you
will
sit
now
down
trigger
and
everyone's cat in the stream.
Here it comes.
You're an asshole.
where are your cats, Bear?
I don't know. That's why I'm trying to trigger them.
He immediately shows up. It's like, where's my treat? Where is my treat?
I heard shaking. Was it you?
That's him.
Just look at that cat. He's looking immediately at the hands. He knows where the food's at. He's like, come on, Daniel, you haven't paid your rent. Where is my rent?
Daniel, you must tithe to your cat. The cat requires mana.
He's a demanding cat, though, isn't he, Church? He likes Daniel attention when
There's no one else in the house, especially.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, he'll bite everybody but me.
So,
Good choice.
where were we before?
Hello, Beans.
Oh, here we go, another cat.
Well, I was
I
discussing
mean-
about specialized priests and how you
Yes.
can use that to expand. I was trying to shill for my favorite system, second edition.
I like second edition. I like aspects of second edition. I don't like all of it. There are things I think that first edition did better. There are things I think that OSE basic D&D does better. But second edition was a very tidy version. And certainly these editions, like your specialist priests and your schools of magic and that sort of thing, were all really good. That sort of I enjoyed that. Really enjoyed all that sort of stuff.
All right.
Yes, I mean, yeah, we did forget the Romans also had the household spirits. Past cultures had all sorts of means of worshipping whoever, whatever. Often it was whatever they needed at the time. It has been mentioned the henotheistic, where certain areas worship certain gods, and certainly the Romans lent that way. But you would have found people who called upon a certain god when they wanted a certain thing, and that's what we often try to emulate in the D&D sort of sphere, and gaming sphere. Anyway, where was we?
If anyone ever comes and visit Bath, I would recommend coming into the Roman baths. The tour guides there go through some of the practices that were done by the Romans, or what was believed to be by the Romans at the time, including that, at the bathhouses, people would throw in, tin sheets with wishes from the god of the water, but it was primarily curses because people stole a lot from the bathhouses. So I would absolutely recommend, if anyone visits England and specifically the city of Bath, visit that, because it's got some wonderful historical insights and some insights for what was done back in those days.
I've never been to Aquae Sulis.
Okay.
Well, that makes two of us.
Yeah, I went down to Bath twice. Neither times did I visit the bathhouses. I should have.
Never been there, but yeah, it's something I should rectify at some point.
At some point. Either way,
Robert's trying to remember how MERP magic. MERP had it was like a mana point system. You had essence points or channeling points. There were two forms of magic. Essence was mage, arcane magic. Channeling was priest/druidic magic, and you had spell lists. The first spell on the list would be seen as a first level spell. The second spell on the list would be a second level spell. And as you gain levels, you get access to more spells down the lists, but they cost more points to cast. And all the lists are themed. You have like spirit mastery, which is all about calming magic, sleep magic, that sort of thing. You get bone and muscle ways, which is a priestly one where you fix bone and muscle injuries, and it can be quite specific like that, but you can build up quite an array of magical abilities. The animist in our game, animist is the druidic sort of priest class that they use, has a lot of healing spell lists now, so he's able to call up blood clotting, organ repair, bone repair, muscle repair, that sort of thing. But at first or second level, he didn't have that array, that versatility. So that's how MERP works it.
nice.
Anyway.
So I ran into this problem with the Zenith universe for Heroic, actually. To get us away from your fantasy stuff for a minute.
Okay, that's fine.
Every comic book out there tries to either make the gods real or try and explain the gods. And Marvel really, really, really muffed it up. because they tried to tie it into the Celestials, and then they got confusing and all this kind of stuff. So what I did is there's a place called Hygeia, which is another dimension, and there are two powerful groups that live there, as well as the people of Hygeia, the Hygeans themselves. They're the Iconians, who live on the mountain Iconia, and there are the Masters of the Underlock, so the Lords of Iconia and the Masters of the Underlock. And the Underlock are the evil ones. The Lords of Iconia are supposedly the good ones. But the point is that they used to hang out on Earth and run around with all the monkey people, us, and basically got mistaken for gods. And so all the gods that have been, in all the various old pantheons are just primitive man trying to understand these Iconians or Masters of the Underlock, the Underlockians, I guess is what you'd call them, and sort of that whole thing. And then eventually at some point when they had a big war, that may have wound up in Atlantis sinking or the destruction of the continent of Mu or whatever, Lemuria even, they made a pact, which was they would no longer live on Earth, and they moved, and now they live off, but they both keep machinating their way in. And I did this because the last thing I wanted to do was have to explain Roman pantheons, Egyptian pantheons, Greek pantheons, Hindu pantheons, Celtic pantheons, Native North American, every individual tribe's pantheon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It just gets really complex and really too many moving parts. So it was easier just to attribute it all to a race of super powerful beings who live in an alternate dimension.
Works.
Like them.
No, not Nephilim.
I know a band.
You might say the legends of the Nephilim come from them.
I was waiting for John to mention that.
One of my favourite bands, the Fields of the Nephilim, takes their name quite obviously from that, and they sing about all sorts of mystical, sort of bizarre, occasionally Cthulhu mythos they sing about as well. So,
really?
Yeah.
I think. Did you show me any of them?
Listen to the lyrics of The Watchman.
All right.
But they're a dark gothic rock band. They're my sort of music. Weirdo stuff.
I was a big fan of Cthulhu. You've never heard the band Darkest of the Hillside Thickets?
No.
Look them up. They're from Vancouver. All their stuff is about Cthulhu, including such banger songs as Shoggoth's Away.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, you'd like them.
Marvelous.
Darkest of the Hillside Thickets.
Darkest of the
Okay,
Hillside.
let's check them out.
Yes, do so.
Yeah. Yes, I'll be
Any
listening
particular
to it.
songs? Innsmouth look?
I like Shoggoth's Away, but their stuff's pretty good. I used to role play with one of the guys in the band, Taryn. He used to play Mutants and Masterminds with us.
Right, I've got a lot of comments I'd like to come to before we go.
Let's get on to that then, shall we?
Let's get on to the comments. Going all the way back to 9:03 p.m. right at the start of the stream. You're wrong, said Gygax would say players should only worship good gods. No. I mean, if you want to play a game where all the player characters are always heroes, yeah, fair enough. But I don't. I'm bored of always being a hero. I want to play morally grey. I want to play a mixture. I want to play.
You want to play anti-hero?
I want to play everything under the sun. That's the thing. I want to have a chance to play everything under the sun. So no, I disagree with Gygax on that one.
I find I disagree with Gygax on a lot of things.
He had a lot of good ideas. Yeah,
He had a lot of ideas. Let's leave it at that. Some good, some bad.
Jeb, yes, I agree with this. I always like the idea that the number of worshippers increases or decreases the power of the god. Absolutely. Yep. You can have sleeping gods that get rediscovered and are awakened. Tharisdan, for example. Tharisdan, the greatest of the Greyhawk gods, the darkest. But yeah, I love it. Look, I love this idea. I mean, I believe in a pantheon. The god is only as powerful as the worshippers that give them devotion. If they stop giving that god devotion, the god sort of fades away. Mac was talking about monks, and I just flagged this up because I just wanted to make my usual admittance here that when I was a teenager, I'd never heard of Japanese martial artists being referred to as monks.
It's because it wasn't the
I'd never-
Japanese, it was the Chinese.
Or Chinese or whatever. I'd never heard of any of that.
Given the shit kicking of culture your empire gave theirs, you might want to get that right.
I'd never heard of any of that. As a teenager, when I saw monk in the AD&D book, I assumed they were Augustinian
Friar Tuck.
types. Friar Tuck,
Well-
yeah. I assumed it was Friar Tuck. And it didn't twig that all these powers were wrong for Friar Tuck.
But that's also because when some of these, when the whole discussions of, the monk, it was inspired by, the Shaolin monks and some of the other TV shows.
It was inspired by the Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movies of the early 70s that were very loosely Shaolin.
That's what I'm trying to go towards. Is like that's what the inspiration was, not the actual what actually is for Shaolin monks within China. But no, that's where it came from. So yes, much like you, John, because at the time when I was introduced to the class of monk, I sat there and went, why would a monk like Friar Tuck be very quick? Like, what is he? Like, what's going on with this? So
when exactly did Friar Tuck give the Sheriff of Nottingham the quivering palm? I don't recall that particular story.
Again, like I
was 13. I was 12, 13. It didn't matter.
I was Danish. I didn't. The concept of China didn't even exist in my mind at the time.
Oops. Has anyone ever used religion to inspire characters to go on a crusade?
Yes.
No, it sounds like a lot of fun.
So much, yes.
Why am I not surprised by that, Oscar?
I've gone on.
Why am I not surprised that he has wood right now?
That happened to me.
Yeah. I've also done the other. I've done Black Crusades as well. Where you go on evil crusades. That's a lot of fun. The logistical nightmare of trying to keep all those evil people under lock and toe is a fucking headache. But it was beautiful. So yes, I've done this.
The nearest I've got to this is a Call of Cthulhu one-shot side scenario where the characters were all crusaders in Constantinople.
Sifu means master. Sifu is your teacher. Sima is the female. Sifu is the male.
I'm not on that bit.
No, I'm responding to Daryl because Sifu is your teacher.
Yeah.
Much like Sensei.
Yeah, it's like Sensei, exactly.
Slan, we haven't mentioned the gods of Yule yet. Yule is just a silly setting. The main god of Yule.
By the way, just to finish that little topic on the Asian monk thing, the more proper term would be boxer. Because that's what they were called within their culture, was boxers.
Oh, really?
Oh, that makes so much sense why I was reading up on the Boxer Rebellion. Jeez, I remember now. Yep.
Hence, that's what the Jedi are based on. The Jedi are based on the idea of Chinese boxers, wandering martial artists, basically. Bringing justice to the villages.
The main god of Yule is, of course, Santa Claus. Though Slan's
it's Krampus.
There is Krampus lurking at the bottom of a dungeon somewhere. But also, Slan's character has 4 intelligence, and he worships Frosty, not realizing it's the same as Santa Claus. He builds snowmen when he goes around.
Okay.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Talking about my Yule OSE game.
As you said, it is a silly place.
It's a silly place. And Slan also says here, with henotheistic settings, you could have gods be strictly local. So with migrations, they lose contact with the deity, which power wanes, they travel further afield. That ties in with, in a way, with the number of worshippers. You could the concentration.
This is exactly part of the basis of the story you told in Neil Gaiman's American Gods. Right? Is that as people came from other parts to the New World, they brought their old gods with them. And as they grew in numbers, the gods that were here diminished because they didn't have as many worshippers anymore and stuff like that. So it's a really good read. You should. I would highly recommend anyone who wants to really look at how to use gods in a horror or modern game, give American Gods a read for some inspiration. It's a very good.
I've never read that, but yet in my Summerland game, that pre-pandemic AD&D game I did, the 9 gods were the ones brought over by the settlers of this new land, and I'd got 7 sleeping deities that had been forgotten, that because the land was utterly fractured, and these were new people coming across. And part of the idea of that game is that they awaken them. But yes.
From my understanding, American Gods is also a TV show. If anyone's
yes, but the TV show is nowhere near as good as the book, and by like a light year. The only thing the TV show did really, really well is the multiple Jesus episode, where they go to the place where it's always Easter and they meet all the Jesuses. So it's like every possible sect of Christianity's Jesus is there. It's a brilliant episode. It's really funny. Like, it's well done. But overall, the book is vastly superior because the book really gets into the mythology through the text, as opposed to the show, which has to have characters give you info dumps all the time, right?
This, of course, is correct. And
I don't know. Conan seemed to handle Dagon pretty good in Conan the Destroyer.
Manfred, I remember it being on TV. I never saw it. I'm just looking. Yep.
Oh my God.
Andy's talking about Darkest of the Hillside Thickets, which I'm going to have to look at that. Definitely. I do remember the Ninja craze. One of my friends was well into it all. It just never grabbed me. One of those things. I had one of the things that all my friends at school used to watch on telly was the old Monkey TV series with Pigsy. Never get that in Canada. It was I don't know if it was Chinese or Japanese, but it was dubbed, and it told the story of a hero called Monkey.
Like Journey into the West type of thing.
I don't
The
know.
Monkey King.
Chinese.
This is Wukong.
So it's the Monkey King.
Is that what it was? I'm going to Google it now. Wiki TV series Monkey. The great Monkey TV series. Yes, account of the journey to the West. There we go.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, Japanese.
No,
filmed in Northwest China.
Oh, the show might have been Japanese, but the myth is Chinese.
The show was Japanese. Filmed in Northwest China and Inner Mongolia, and broadcast from 1978 to 1980. And it got shown here a couple of years later, and a lot of people were watching it and quoting it, but I never did. I was never interested.
Oh, Journey into the West is a really great Chinese legend.
Right. Okay.
And the Monkey King is a trickster, right? Like, that's the point of the Monkey King. So it's fun.
So
Tales of the Golden Monkey. Look that up.
Tales from the Golden Monkey has literally nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Well, you're talking about monkeys.
We're talking about monkeys. Daniel woke up and heard monkeys. Congo was a hell of a film.
So, where was I going to go? I was going to mention, for example, of course, the religion plays very heavily. A different type of religion plays very heavily in my favorite game, which I haven't mentioned yet tonight, apart from the very start. Call of Cthulhu. You're constantly up against cultists who effectively worship these great old ones. And it is a battle of people believing in this weird, twisted, insane religion linked to the great Cthulhu and Nyarlathotep and Yog-Sothoth and all those others, and how it's seeping through the world and corrupting
Yeah,
super
I've never
realistic one.
understood those because if they win, their god comes and destroys everything and kills everyone. So how is this a benefit for them?
They're insane. They're just meant to be insane. That's the whole.
Yeah, I guess that's all you get out of that because otherwise, like that's one of the problems I've always had with Cthulhuid cults. They don't make any sense. Why anyone be like, yeah, let's wake up the giant octopus at the bottom of the ocean so he can destroy the world.
But of course, that they believe they'll be different. They believe they'll be the one who's anointed, despite the fact that
Anointed on the world that is destroyed.
yeah,
I didn't think that through.
Well, they-
Jared.
Yeah,
true.
it's
these
all to
cult
do with
members really don't know who they're worshipping, do they? Or
no, they
what?
don't. No. It's a quest for dark knowledge, essentially, for them. And
Or that,
I-
or
I-
it's just as you said, it's a cult. It
Cult,
is
yeah.
something that is just it's set up there, and they believe that they might not even have the proper understanding of what it is that they're doing. There's just their leader seems to be very charismatic, and he's hearing voices. He believes these voices are going to be bringing them forth into the new world, and that they should be ushered into this. And then the cult has established, it's sort of indoctrinated itself. Now at this point, that's me stepping in because I don't like, as you were saying, I don't like the whole thing of like we believe the world shall end. It's like that's very few people go into the whole belief of the world is going to be destroyed. Therefore, we shall all go through this and die. Those cults are thankfully far between each other. And the ones we do see,
those cults exist. We know they exist.
we know they've been documented.
Our lifetime, yeah.
And they often self-destruct because they do whatever ritual and then they wipe themselves out.
And they don't attract the best and brightest. You're right there, dirty history and hobbies. They don't. They really don't. But so we come to this is the one thing I want to get onto. One thing having religion and religious conflict and all that sort of stuff. It's a great way to create meaningful villains in a game. Cheers, Joe Booker. It's a great way to create meaningful.
Microwave. Obviously, someone used the microwave.
It's a great way to create meaningful villains in a game. A cult leader, a worshipper of a deity who is forbidden. These are all villains you can get your teeth into. Villains who can do things that will make the players hate them and have a good reason to do those things because of their fervor when it comes to whatever it is, whoever it is, they worship. And I'm going to be a little controversial here and say we have these sort of people nowadays in the form of those bloody television evangelist types who fleece people out of tons of money and they are truly evil. They are truly evil. And I think we can all agree on that. Hopefully people don't turn off in droves when I've said that. but yeah, I don't get the draw of those sort of people because they turn.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Might think I'm bullshitting here, but my grandmother's sister had a lot of land. Aunt Zelda, her name was actually Zelda.
Cool name.
She sold it to a coal mining company for $12 million. She gave 10 million of it to a televangelist type from Johnstown. So yeah, I understand. Yeah, you can get in that part where they take you for everything and they're nothing. So yeah.
And so you can see why these sort of people are great villains for a
Oh
role
yeah, totally evil.
because they're charismatic. They're
Yep.
greedy, charismatic. They thrive on the power, the sway they have over people. And those are the best villains. Welcome back, Iman.
Yes, the microwave trauma returns even during Ramadan.
That's funny.
So, as it seems, I haven't scared anybody off by mentioning televangelists.
Well, it's because evangelicals aren't allowed to role play, dude.
It's just, I think, I mean, how many times is the villain in a work of fiction a corrupted priest of some sort? Or
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
and I think
Did you see
make
Midnight Mass?
Or
Did you see
or
Midnight
even
Mass?
corrupted by a priest.
Did you see Midnight Mass?
no.
That's the entire basis of the show Midnight Mass. And I will say nothing more, but you would probably like it a lot, and it's got some Cthulhuid undertones.
Oh, is it gory?
Not really. It's scary, but not really.
I don't mind scary. I don't like it's gory. I don't like it.
It's not really gory.
Might be worth me checking out then.
What was the name of that show you mentioned a few moments ago?
American
Midnight
God,
Mass. American
What's
Gods.
that?
Monkey,
I bet-
Kung
We
Fu.
talked about Kung Fu. We talked about Monkey, Midnight Mass, and American Gods.
Crap. Don't know.
I still need to watch that, Manfred. It's on my list.
Right, what do you have any more topics or questions?
I'm bringing up religious taboos are a good element for offsetting a character being granted an advantage elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, you could certainly have it whereby worshippers of one faith have to tread carefully in other parts of the world. It's been I'm bringing up Devere again. It has been said multiple times by Bear that I'm going to have to be very careful with him because of where they
Okay.
are.
Listen, you crazy Catholic from Elysian Catholic in Calabria, who's heading back to his city where the Queen is, with the guy claiming to be the High King, the Crown Prince of Ishmir, and oh yeah, the Estradi are also there in the city. So you're going Catholic, Pembroke Reformation, and Estradi Evangelicism all meeting at one time with the guy that's supposed to dethrone her. How do you think that's going to go?
I don't think it's gonna work
How
out.
do you think that's going to work out? You think there's going to be a big parade to welcome you to town?
Do you think Devere would know any of this?
I look forward, and with a crazy blind wizard, exactly, with a fucking ass-chapping blind wizard. Oh yeah, and now a mad prophet.
Oh yeah, fuck. There's two of them now.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the carnage. I mean, it's going to end well, isn't
You
it?
say that. Bear has told me a little bit, and he's like, "Yeah, you guys are so fucked."
You're so fucked. You are so
I
fucked.
second that. I don't
predict
know.
The campaign
You
has
don't-
a 50% chance of ending on Saturday.
Bear basically was like, "You don't think people have been reporting all the bullshit that you guys have been doing?"
Do you not think there's a spy network on the island reporting back that this crazy shit's been going on?
Do you think Devere considers any of this in his
Do you
day-to-day
think
life?
Devere will look good flayed over the castle walls?
Is
Devere
Devere
will look
aware?
good.
No. If he was aware, would he even care? No.
No.
No, I'm all for this. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh joy.
So anyway, yes, that coming back to that point, religious taboos. Yeah, if you can always commit a faux pas, and you have to deal with the consequences, because that is all part of a world that works. Consequences. You've got to make sure, be careful who you're speaking to, who you're revealing certain beliefs to, because they might be part of some form of inquisition. And what is this about hot pockets? This cult of the hot pockets? Is that what your family are putting in the microwave? Iman, hot pocket.
No,
What is a hot pocket?
it's just basically a folded pizza, like a mini one.
It's
Oh,
a calzone.
Yeah, they make them in.
It's a very
all
small
kinds of stuff.
calzone.
Yeah.
You can get
That's
ham
why I
and
don't know.
cheese, pizza,
That's why I don't know what they are.
eggs
'cause they
and
could taste it.
sausage. Imagine a folded pastry over whatever stuffing you want in.
Yeah.
AKA a calzone.
Correct.
It's like
I-
a,
Only
it's
a
like a
small
pizza
calzone.
pasty.
Okay,
I am oblivious.
bringing
to the
it
cult of-
back to
Anyway,
I'm
the
a bit-
tabletop games with.
No. We're going to have an argument about the Church of Calzone now.
I'm oblivious to the Church of the Hot Pocket, being a non-believer in the cult of cheese, because of the evil effect that satanic cheese has upon my body, on my mortal form.
yeah, but you are a member of the cult of lactate.
I haven't joined the cult of lactate.
The goat herders and the cult of cow.
Saxius, you're back. We
Every
stopped it.
second that this goes on and we're not back on topic, Saxius will kill another PC.
I'm,
Fuck.
but I'm
I
glad that
mean, Bear knows
not
what the
in any
situation
way-
is
Why
for
would you
you. So
incentivize me like that, man?
yeah, that's like. I mean, yeah. You don't even know what I'm doing to my Saturday players. You have no concept of what I'm throwing at them, because they're big boys and they deserve to get all the pain that I can give.
Robert, no, I'd never heard that. I always believed that D&D clerics were inspired by the image of Bishop Odo on the Bayeux Tapestry.
It was Hammer films. D&D clerics were inspired by Hammer films because basically Gygax was throwing undead at them, so they wanted to have someone who could fight vampires.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where the turn undead thing comes from.
Okay.
Back spawn of Satan!
So you're talking, what's his name in
Christopher Lee.
in
Christopher
Dracula? Yeah.
Lee, Alec Guinness, Peter Cushing, one of them.
No, I'm thinking the character names. I'm trying to remember the character names.
What, Van Helsing?
Yeah, that's the one. Yes.
Jeez, John, give us something to work with.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
He's
my
the one
brain
from
was-
the movie. What movie? Undead. Dracula. There. Like, no, it's the other one.
That's a route to hell, Manfred. That is a route to hell. Thou needs to cleanse thy innards with holy water. Ale.
Oh my God. Manfred's evil.
It is, yes. It is. So, back to the topic of religion, or have we finished the topic of religion? What other things did I put in the little thing under?
Oh, let's
Under
find
the
out,
screen.
shall we?
What other things I put? I can't remember.
You haven't.
I'm miles away.
You've put space and heroes and villains.
No, that's a different one. It's in the live thing in the details. How do you go about making the world come
that
to
one.
life? You have clerics, healing powers, other religious orders that need to. Yeah, we talked about that. Weaving religion into storylines, opportunities it provides, and designing faith for a game world. We have discussed all of those.
And with that, I must take my leave and make my supper because I must prepare for my OSE game tonight.
All right, enjoy.
Have a good
Oh
night.
yes, if I'm awake, I'll try and catch some of that because last.
But it was
session
fun to
great.
talk finally about something I could
Hey,
contribute.
Bear,
Yeah.
I'm sorry I stayed up.
What?
I'll
He's
take
sorry
a
he
nap
stayed
next
up.
time.
Okay, I'm sorry, Iman, you talked over Daniel, and let me tell you, both of you talking at the same time is just noise. What did you say, Daniel?
I'm sorry I stayed awake. I'll
You're
take a nap
sorry you
next
stayed
time.
awake?
Yeah, I'll take a nap next time.
Oh, yeah, hilarious. Okay. That was way too much work for that lame a joke, sir. Just saying.
But Bear, looking forward to Saturday night.
Me too, sir.
I'm looking forward to the end of the campaign.
Might be Saturday night. Who knows?
Might be Saturday, yes. So, chat, if you're not aware, we will be streaming a live game across all of our channels on Saturday. You will see me and Iman and Andy and Cody and Malachi and Max all getting put through the ringer by Bear. Codex Albana. Great game in Bear's World. So there you go. So what are we going to talk about for the remaining hour, if we're going to go on for another hour? What do you want to talk about? Chat, what should we talk about? Get us engaged.
Sorry, who are you talking to?
Chat. And you.
Okay.
I do have one thing on religion.
Go on then.
I had a ranger, fairly high level, probably my favorite character ever, and my DM chastised me. We went into a village that had been raided by giants, and rather than him doing his rangerly duties, he sat down on the fountain, the town square, got his pipe out, got out a flask of rum, proceeded to have a smoke and a drink. He lost all rangering abilities. And then I had to jump through a buttload of hoops to get him back.
Because as a ranger, you're supposed to protect the innocent.
Correct. He was the ranger of Alona. So yeah. He got spanked hard. It hurt.
I think that's very fair of your DM as well, though, because I think that's what as per the rules of the game.
I wasn't even upset. I'm like, yeah, he was an asshole. So yeah.
And I think having those sort of, it almost ties into the whole faith points. I mean, he would have effectively, by neglecting his duties, he'd have been losing faith points, and making it a quest to recover all that sort of stuff.
That's what happened. Yeah.
It increases your engagement.
Yep.
And you can have all sorts of good stuff. Curses, loss of powers, all this sort of stuff can befall a character that doesn't perform his or her duties. And they have duties. And I do find I find that appealing in a game, having characters have duties to the world, to the law of the world and the tenets of the class. I think that enhances role playing.
Yeah.
I think channeling people down a sort of a route, focusing them, actually makes the role playing better. You give them an open book, and you tend to get garbage. Give them something to focus on, it'll be much better, much better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think religion does in these games. It gives a focus. It gives purpose to so many entities in the game, which in turn creates stories, creates ideas, fuels quests. And that's why I think fantasy games benefit from having
the group that we played every week, and it took me almost a year to get everything done.
Good.
We're talking
good. Made you bloody work for it, yeah.
Yeah.
Made you bloody work for it. And Saxon's probably sat there thinking, yeah, good DM. Well done, DM.
Oh,
But,
It got rough.
I mean, when it comes to things like that, for taking a class powers away, assuming that there's been previous signs for the ranger not having done their duty, then yeah, absolutely, I would have given at least 3 strikes. I did that to a paladin, where I would just be going, nope, here's your first warning, here's your second warning, which is a major one, third one, okay, cool, you go to sleep, you have nothing thereafter. I've done that before, but I'm always of the belief that the gods understand it's tough, ergo they give warnings. But if they get you,
Yeah.
but that's my
Well,
style.
Yeah.
I think Phil Finker. I mean, you could say that the ability to cast spells and heal is reward in itself. But if they go above and beyond, then yeah, I have been known to give little nuggets, little carrots. I
Yep.
don't if they ask for them.
See, and in the case of that ranger, his hated class was giants. And we knew it was hill giants that did it.
Yeah.
So he just sat down and said, screw it. So the DM's like, yeah, okay, you're done. Which if you think about it, makes sense.
So why did you sit down and have a smoke? Had you just had a bad day? Were you just feeling like that player that day?
Correct. Exactly.
When you say smoke, do you mean a good thing or a bad thing?
Just a proper tobacco pipe, and then he got out a flask of rum, sat down on the town well, and Alona gave him a direct message, pretty much saying, I'm going to spank you. So
And you got spanked.
I did.
Squirrel Hermit says that Harn Master has piety points. So will they be like that? I'm guessing they will work like the faith points in.
No, it's well, I mean, there are similarities to it. I'm not an expert on it, but there are similarities, and it's a lot better integrated than what the what's called the magazine that we found is like. It's actually based around that.
I mean, what was I thinking of then? I don't know. My head's gone. My head. I had an example I was going to spring upon you all, and that's just disappeared. Just disappeared. No, it's well and truly gone.
It'll come back to you, I'm sure.
It probably will when the stream is finished. Yeah, I mean, of course, Slan. Oh, yeah. No. Svinfilka, I think the thing is, your character should be following the tenets of your religion all the time. For me, it's when you go above and beyond, really put your body on the line for your faith and have your faith tested. That's when you should be able to get some form of reward. Minor deity in World of Greyhawk was part of a low-level party who defeated a great evil. Yeah, that sort of thing could well be on the table. Should you? I mean, look at mythology where heroes arose to become demigods and all that sort of stuff. It's all in there. I mean, all these things can happen. As a DM, you've just got to go with it. Go with it. How would the deity react to the actions of the characters? Would they even notice? Notice? How important is that character to the deity?
Yeah, like, okay, for instance, Angus admittedly is only 5th level.
Mhm.
And he's pretty cool, but has he done anything to warrant the attention of his god?
Not yet. Not yet.
He plods along, does his duty, and that's about it. He hasn't
He
done,
survived to 5th level. That's very impressive.
Right.
but he
Darryl,
hasn't done anything above and beyond.
the premise for my Summerland 2E game, it was a West Marches game initially, and it sort of grew into what I'm about to describe. The idea was that about 300 survivors from a cataclysm in the east arrive in a flotilla of boats. Many boats have sunk. Many people have died on the journey, but those that survive are the healthy ones, the exceptional ones, and that's why these are the ones that produce the player characters. And they've spent a while building up their initial settlements on the east coast of this massive land. And because they bring with them their own gods, and they start building shrines and temples to their gods. And thus their gods are introduced to this land. Now, the land has a history, which they begin to discover. And I designed the history around the Celtic concept of the three. There was one overarching, utterly neutral god, very much like the goat-headed sort of Celtic god, and then there were the 3 aspects of womanhood: the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And then I had the opposites on the other side, who I called the faces of what's that goddess in Deities and Demigods? Evil goddess in Deities and Demigods. I gave her 3 aspects,
The
different degrees of evil.
black and white fate.
I'm just looking her up now. I
Trying to
don't know
think
why my brain's not working properly tonight.
It's late.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Oh, the Morrigan. And they began to awaken. Initially, it was Booker, the goat-headed god, that got himself his first worshipper, one of the player characters, who inadvertently sort of communed with him while he was sleeping. And the idea of that campaign was that the land they are in exists on fate cycles. The dragons in that game, there is only one dragon of each color, and they represent something to do with the way that dragon is perceived in D&D lore. You've got the trickster green dragons, the greedy blue dragons, the violent red dragons, the silver dragons. They're great learners, and so on. And I had it that the dragons were avatars who would represent all these sort of components of a human psyche: greed, learning, freedom, storytelling, all this sort of stuff. And they were allowed to interact with the humans at opportune moments when those sort of feelings were being displayed, but the dragons themselves could not affect how the humans, whether they thrived or failed within the world. But they were destined to give in to dragon greed. And when that happened, the gods would punish destroy, and go dormant. And the whole idea of the fate cycle is that at some point they would awaken again, and the whole cycle would repeat. And that was the idea of that world. How the dragons were the architects of everything going wrong due to their innate nature. So there you go. I don't know where we got to that. So that the gods were punishing large swathes of people, famine, plague, and flood in that game, but due to the actions of the dragons.
Fair enough. So that's part of the religion that, religion or the events that led to that, I suppose.
Yeah. And I created like that on the fly, just sort of as I came with ideas, and just dropped little bits into the campaign about it, and had to. I never finished it. But players seem to enjoy it. Players seem to like it, which was good. Anyway, I have rambled.
Yep. All right.
And it was named Summerland after a Fields of the Nephilim song. So going back to them, the Nephilim.
Isn't that something very similar to what was in the Lone Wolf books, Summerland?
Summerland, yeah. I hadn't read the Lone Wolf books when I came up with that.
Okay. I don't know when they came out originally.
80s.
Okay.
But Summerland in the Fields of the Nephilim song is all about Sumer, the Babylonians, that sort of stuff.
Right.
So, anyhow, yeah, I think we're pretty much done.
I can't think of anything further to really add in. We've covered the major ones. Everything from here is just going to be pedantry and going down into just not worthwhile stuff.
I think so. And I am tired. I will admit I am tired. So I'm going to say that's probably a good time to wrap up our stream for the evening.
Right.
We got into some quite good stuff for those 2 hours that we were discussing this. I did think this topic would take a lot longer to delve into, but I think we've covered what we needed to.
Well, we could. Well, my concern when I made this one was whether we're going to go down into the whole internet religion wars.
No,
but it also depended on how it was being conducted on the panel.
Yeah, I don't think there's any need to go into all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, see, when I saw it, I was really interested because, for the most part, we're all fairly intelligent people in this group, so I didn't think it would get outlandish.
No, it didn't.
So I figured it would be an intelligent conversation, and it would be a good topic, which it was.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And because we didn't get into all the flaming and arguing, we got it all hammered out in about 2 hours, which was marvelous. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to have a bit of an early night tonight.
All right, guys.
You tell my brain.
Good night.
My brain isn't quite working to 100%. So I have forgotten. For the most part, well, I suppose I did launch into a small tirade against tele-evangelists fleecing people.
That's fine.
I think I've got a good reason for that, because they're wankers. And on that note, on that note, thank you, Saxius. Thank you, Bear, who's gone. Thank you, Iman, who's still here. Thank you, Daniel, who's just gone. Thank you, chat, for engaging with us all and putting up with us all. And I'm going to get an early night tonight, and I will see you Friday. See you Friday for some more Call of Cthulhu.
I will see Saxius on Friday, and I will catch up on the horrors afterwards.
Yeah. Right. So yes, remember to subscribe and like, all you pagans, and oink oink indeed.
Summon the Demi-Lich, quick.
Summon the Demi-Lich. Good night, all. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.